All right, now welcome to another episode with the Storm and Mormon. Still funny. Still funny, I tell you. Now, I had the great privilege of being born in the latter days, and I was entered into the waters of baptism at the tender young age of 8. This is Genesis chapter 17, and we learned that good old Father Abraham really went traditional, and he got his introduction, his baptismal covenant, at the young age of 90 and 9. We start with 1, and when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God, walk before me and be thou perfect. And Abraham is shrugging his shoulders, going, what? Hello? It's been 99 years. I think we've got this. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and I will multiply thee exceedingly. And at this point, if you were 99 years old and the Lord's like, yeah, we're going to start going, and you've been doing this for around 70 years at this point, hopefully, they should elicit some form of eye roll. We've been through this, Lord. What do you mean we're just getting started? But Abraham took it a lot better than I would. And Abram fell on his face, and the Lord talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. You have to understand, Abraham is pressing X for doubt, at least in the back of his mind somehow. I know most of you would. I know I would. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. Okay. So your children are going to have the covenant with God. This can be seen a few ways. The first thing that comes to my mind is a divine babysitter, but that's a very pessimistic point of view. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, and all for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. You see that person's house? That's yours now. You own that. That is all you. And God said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant therefore, thou and thy seed, and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you, and thy seed after thee. Every man-child among you shall be circumcised. That's a big ask. That's a pretty big ask. That's huge. And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man-child in your generations. He that is born in the house or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed. Even the servants had to buy in on this. Anyone within the power and scope of Abraham's house had to buy into this. Okay. He that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with thy money, must needs be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. This is still like Old Testament Lord, Jehovah. If he's going to make you his... okay. There's some of you who have questions. You have lots of questions. Yes, I'm circumcised. That was done in the hospital. No apologies, no qualms, no. I don't miss it ever. Anyways, but some of you are having men's rights activists questions of it's abuse, it's mutilation, it's disfigurement, it's this, that, and the other. Let me explain something real quick. There's a Joseph Smith quote. Let me see if I can find this real quick for you. Let me open this. No, let's go back there. I'll see if I can pull it up online for a second. Joseph Smith quote. Quotes. Joseph Smith, religion. All right, so here is the quote from Joseph Smith Jr. Let us here observe that a religion that does not require the sacrifice of all things never has power sufficient to produce the faith necessary unto life and salvation. And that's kind of what all of that whole nonsense is about. To be very, very blunt about it, that's really the whole crux of the issue. That's why the Lord would be so bold to come out and say, all right, guys, we're cutting it off. All of your foreskins, circumcision is now ubiquitous among the house of Abraham. Let's get it done. And it's pretty stringent. We continue with verse 14, and the uncircumcised man-child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant. And God said unto Abraham, As for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. And this is something that is skimmed over. It's not just Abraham who's given the promise of being a father of all nations. His wife, Sarah, was given the promise of being the mother of nations. That's something that gets glossed over very frequently. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed, as I would have, most certainly, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bear? And Abraham said unto God, O that Ishmael might live before thee. Now, that might be strange in our vernacular, but he's asking the Lord, would that Ishmael would follow you and be part of your covenant. And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. As for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. Isaac hasn't even been conceived yet. Keep that in mind. The Lord's telling him that Isaac's going to be born in a year. meaning he hasn't even been conceived when the Lord and Abraham are talking. And he left talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin the selfsame day, as God had said unto him. And Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he circumcised the flesh of his foreskin. Holy crap! Oh, that sucks. It's bad enough that you had to do it, when you're too young to remember, but being 99 years old and having to cut that off, that is not fun. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old. Again, not fun. That might cause some issues. In the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son, and all the men of his house, born in the house and bought with money of the stranger, were circumcised with him. Now, the question is, why? Why do this? Why go to such extremes? Because again, let me tap the sign. The sign went away. Ah, there it is. No, wait. Why? Why you do this? I said tap. No, okay. It's not going to let me tap the sign. It's not going to let me. It's being mean. Being very, very mean. OBS does not want to behave. Will it do it? No. Still, nothing. Curses. Alright. But again, you saw the quote. And the quote says, "Let us here observe that a religion that does not require the sacrifice of all things never has power sufficient to produce the faith necessary unto life and salvation." This was Old Testament, Lord. This was Jehovah. And his price for ultimate power, like having the power to determine kings, to have your lineage be that of the nobility, the power to be the covenant people, it had a steep price. And so so if you think that's odd, let me suggest rather radically it is because you have been spoiled. You have been infused with a Western idea that your salvation, your worth, your consideration in the grand scheme of things should cost you nothing. But that's not how the Lord works. If you want great things, if you want to be connected to the divine, if you want the hookup, as it were, there's an entrance fee. Now, today, that entrance fee is baptism. It's becoming part of the covenant. Not so steep of a price. The true price comes after your baptism. It comes after receiving the Holy Ghost. It comes with the burden of being a proactive member and participant of the covenant itself. These gentlemen got their suffering in advance. And that's why the Lord was a little, shall we say, God was a bit more, how do I want to say this? Proactive? A little more immediate, a little more responsive, maybe, when it came to his actions in the old world, because when someone says, "Where is my God? Why hast thou forsaken me?" and they're able to point to the literal tokens of the covenant, meaning their foreskins on the floor, the Lord can look over and go, "Oh yeah, I made a promise. I owe them this." That they made their covenant. And the point is, whether you actually have your foreskin chopped off or not, your discipleship, your worthiness, your entrance into the priesthood will cost you. It always has. It always will. The covenant is not free, nor is it easy. And that's the ultimate. That's the real gist of this ritual, this transaction, is understanding just how dear the covenant is and what it costs. And I'm not comfortable saying that the request was reasonable. There's a pretty high percentage that it wasn't reasonable. That might have been the point. That's all I'm trying to say. That might very well have been the entire point of this exercise. And leave me your comments, leave me your questions, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.